Show starts in 1 minute. Good evening, folks, and a hearty welcome to our drive-in theater. We have a wonderful evening's entertainment lined up for you, one that will provide several hours of pleasurable relaxation and diversion for you and your family.
Like 9 out of 10 film stars, Raquel Welch uses Lux Beauty Soap.
Well, no, I like to be a woman and a man to be a man, you know.
We hope you'll make this a weekly visit. You love the tasty array of snacks we have to offer. Bring your friends. There are always wonderful new pictures to see. We hope you have a wonderful time.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Longhouse. We are streaming on an off day. It is Wednesday and not Thursday. Real life sadly got in the way and I was unable to make it tomorrow, so here we are a day early. Luddic Path, how are you doing?
That's why we're streaming.
Yeah, that's why we're streaming right now.
Yeah, there's no good reason for it. Wednesday is always a good day to stream, of course. Hello, everybody. I mean, it's
Is it? Are we?
No, actually, I don't think
else?
so. We should stop caring about this stuff. Nobody else seems to care about colliding with other people. We've been very cordial about trying to time this stuff, and even when we do, we still have like big influencers show up on our in our time slots. So
that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah, we've been around long enough now, so we don't really have to care about these time slots anymore.
Yeah, we're a big channel now.
We tell them what they want. We don't have to adapt anymore. The service is over, guys.
It is.
Just So that's how it is.
You're gonna listen to it and you're gonna like it, guys. Yeah.
You're gonna smile and you're gonna take a bite and you're gonna like it. Yes, of course. So it's been a slow week, hasn't it?
It's been a slow. Well, I'm coming off of. I've figured out. I took a test because everyone told me that I was suffering from COVID, and I actually got it confirmed. So I came off of that. I've been doing fine now for like maybe 4 or 5 days. But the past like month, basically ever since we returned from the Witten, I've been like constantly sick to some degree or another. And the worst part was that it sort of drained my energy. So all I could do was I could go to work and I came home and then I basically went to sleep more or less for like 4 weeks. And this is the first week when I'm like back to normal shape and there's a lot to catch up on. So if anyone has been trying to get a hold of me, I've basically been away for almost a month.
Yeah, that schedule sounds like the single white woman is 35-year-old white woman schedule. The go to work, then go home, go to sleep, and then you can sleep in and make shakshuka.
So yeah, the coof has been defeated finally.
What variant of the coof are we on now?
I have no idea. Like people just kept telling me, "Oh yeah, my dad had the same symptoms. He has COVID," and so I ended up doing one of those like self tests, and it triggered on it. Not that it really matters. I just had one lying around from back in the day.
Yeah, so you didn't have to get the swabs again or like have this stuff put into your
No,
nose.
I don't think those centers even exist anymore.
Oh, really?
I haven't checked though, and why would I? Right? There's no one cares, right? So, but I mean, it was the sort of the illness itself was like a 24-hour influenza. It was nothing special. The real kicker was like the actual cough and being tired all the time, and it's sticking around for so long. But now that a month has passed, I'm fine, really. So
I suspect we didn't get the same thing then, even though I was also a little bit.
No, I got this. I don't think I got it at the Witten. I think I must have either gotten it at the airport or right after I came home. because you remember I did get sick right after the Witten, and my theory is that, you know, my immune system basically got fucked, and then I picked up COVID as a result of that.
Yeah, there's always something.
So yeah, oh yeah, sure, it's a high chance for a false positive. So I don't really care, you know, if I had the coof or not. I'm just saying I'm happy to be back to normal. That's really my point. But still, even though I'm back to normal, we're in a week with a bit slow news outside of the Anglosphere, and I have a couple of things that I want to talk about that isn't quite ready yet. A book review that I haven't finished yet, right? Things like that. So this was one of those like, what do we have to talk about? And then I figured that, you know what, we're gonna do it. We're gonna content farm. We're gonna go through my sort of doom scrolling bookmarks on Twitter, and I'm gonna just compile like a topic list. And it actually presented itself after some searching in my bookmarks. So I have to present to you here, Luddic, the smorgasbord of topics for tonight, which you can choose from at your leisure.
So this is the profits of doom scrolling menu here.
I desperately had to. I was looking through like the documentation for StreamYards because I would have loved in the bottom corner of our backdrop to have this like live AA reaction from from his latest video.
Yeah, we haven't put enough into OBS. I think maybe we could have had some custom setup, but that's
if I streamed from OBS, I could have run like a looping video in the background.
Oh well. Send in an issue to StreamYard, and hopefully we can get that fixed ASAP.
Yes,
it's extremely important. Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a bit of a hodgepodge of topics, obviously. And there's no order to this. This you can choose really whatever you feel like.
Well, I'm just gonna do like my eyes just go to femcells immediately. That's the that's the one I want.
So all this is a collection of Twitter posts, right? That sort of have loose attachments to each other. So let me bring up Twitter here. Let's see here. Stop screen sharing. Percent. Share screen. This is in my bookmarks. This is. Here we go. Find.
Can you zoom a bit? Maybe?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I just need to bring up the photos. Sorry, the individual posts. So there are a couple here that I got from what's her name? The Manosphere woman, Pearl something.
Pearly things, just pearly
things.
I think that's the tag she has on YouTube.
That's the tag she has. So, I mean, this is the actual post I end up sort of bookmarking is usually like 4 posts deep. So let's go here first. And this is some annoying, like some guy is going to start talking, but basically just pearly things is this big, well, you know, manosphere woman who talks about, well, she attacks the whole thing from like the value of women have decreased because they're just sort of, hoflation, is that the word?
I've heard a similar thing. Is that where, like,
the work a man has to put in. Yeah. Yes, the work a man has to put in to get sort of like a mid woman, right? In all respects of the word, not just physically, is so high now that's something that she leads with, and she leads with, I would rather have a traditional role, etc., etc. And because she's a woman saying it, you know, based and red pilled and all that. But you know, the posts that I have here sort of paint a picture of Pearl coming at this, and we saw that in the, I'll bring up the Radfem, I can't say that, the Radfem Austrian painter post as well, talking about how this sort of stems from a bunch of, from a bit of sort of insecurity and well, you know, femcel-isms in Pearl. So I'll just play this and try to skip the commentary. Just let me know if you want me to stop.
You
Sure.
listen to this man, and I have one answer for you. Low self-esteem.
Yeah, that's real. Her answer to the question, why do you listen to this church? It's because I hate myself.
From a young age, I haven't thought highly of myself. I never thought that I deserved a lot, to be honest. I never thought of myself as a queen. And I never thought of myself super highly. I'm gonna just be honest here. From a young age, I was what you call humbled. Okay, most of my friends, right, were generally like more attractive than me. I was never the hot friend. Most guys, even the average guys, they would ask me about my friend first. And if that didn't work out, then they would come crawling to me. So, yeah, I would say low self-esteem. That's the main one. And yeah, being humbled. That's why I can.
All right. So that's the gist of that video. There's one more.
But what is she answering here? I'm not sure what the context is for this.
Well, she's basically, if I recall, I don't think I have the clip here from like the source, but she's answering about her experiences with dating because she has been in the public eye for quite a few years now, and you know, some people have started questioning why she doesn't really have a boyfriend. And you know, you can say that, well, I mean, she's not a perfect 10, right? But even so, with the, you know, with the fame and all that, at this point you'd think she would have a boyfriend. And it seems that once you start scratching at this a bit, well, you know, what's underneath it is a bit of that, well, femcelism, right? Which then someone like RF, Austrian painter here, says, this once was obvious, but it's still hard to hear Pearl say it explicitly herself. I got into the Manosphere content in part because I was the friend who the boys didn't like romantically. When men are rejected, they get into red pill, and apparently so do a number of women. And I think that's a very interesting observation because I'm not sure if it's true. It seems to be in the case of Pearl. And you can get like all sort of fully Manosphere, I guess, on it and say that, well, the only reason she's into it is because it's one way for her to get men. But that obviously doesn't seem to work, right? Because she doesn't have a boyfriend.
No, it's a very good point. So let me see. What's the theory, working theory here then? It's like, okay, men get rejected by women, they get into Manosphere content. Okay, easy. But why do women who get rejected by men get into Manosphere content?
That's what I'm trying to bring up here. Maybe we could, you know, try to think about it alongside chat, because I don't necessarily see the pipeline that RFH is presenting here. Now here's something related to this, slightly, including the same Pearl and RFH. So I'll just play this. This is more on aging and, you know, the famous carton of eggs, etc.
At 35, you've lost all the things that men value. That's the problem, because men value femininity, fertility, and they value youth. So you can't say you're youthful when you're almost halfway through your life. Like, you can't say you're fertile when you're about to have geriatric pregnancy. So it's like, and you look worse than you did at 25, right? So the way you're thinking is like a woman.
Not to mention, it's almost been 3 years since this art.
Shut this guy up. When I first heard that clip, I thought to myself, well, I mean, you're right, but you're also wrong because you're zeroing in on like one axis of the sort of like what men look for, right? it's kind of weird to say that that's the only thing they look for, because otherwise society wouldn't function in the monogamous way it does today. Everyone would just, all men would like continuously dump women, right, as they get older. But obviously, as many cultures and traditions will tell us, there is certainly room for, wise women, right? Women who
I think people
matrons.
enjoy the milfs quite a bit. I don't see any like
People enjoy the
tipping off in
milfs.
the demand of the milfs and maybe the gilfs. So I mean, a lot of men just want a mommy, right? They sort of want a sort of caring.
Well, sure, but I mean, there you get to another post that I have in my bookmarks from the Doomscrolling.
Yeah, but before we move on too quickly, yes, I the gears churned a little bit in terms of like the Manosphere ugly woman pipeline or something. So maybe the idea is that if if like this woman is being rejected, then she blames like the more attractive women, and then she uses the Manosphere platform to kind of denigrate the women who are getting the attention, like she's doing here.
Yeah,
maybe that's the psychological theory behind it, because then she can laugh at, oh well, you're so attractive now at 20, but when you're 35, the carton of eggs dry up, and and
she can do
just
it
gonna be
from
a loser,
male perspective, which then sort of gives her the shield of logic and reason, right? She's not just
she'll be
being salty, right?
She'll get the attention and get the attention of a lot of men. That's one thing. Get to dunk on a lot of the women that are prettier than her, and be able to make a living from that. I mean, but of course, I mean, in terms of finding.
But then you're just sort of like, I'm not like other girlsing yourself into, into oblivion, right?
Yeah,
at some point you're going to be dividing by zero here. Right?
It's a total. It's also a kind of genetic bottleneck for her, or just a total dead end in terms of finding any mate. You're not gonna become like a MGTOW influencer and use that as a platform to find men.
No,
seems very unlikely. But
obviously, the MGTOWs you're trying to influence aren't going to listen to you. They're going to listen to MGTOW men, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even though she's repeating the talking points, they're not going to buy the idea that she's different. And even if they did, most of them are either, sorry to say, but either psychopathic or just like these total losers, and they're not really in the pool of the people you want to date anyway.
Right.
I think the type of, you just kind of, it is this sort of right-wing problem where you're always in the sewer, right? It doesn't matter what space you are, you always end up in the sewer somehow.
Okay, and Nietzsche's horse here says that he has two questions here, which basically boils down to the same thing. The first thing he says is, wouldn't red pill ideology practiced increase the pool of available men? And then she says, if the norm was marriage, she would benefit. No. Yes, but the point isn't that the arguments that she's making, that she has lifted basically from the Manosphere, that those arguments are, bad or good. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that she has adopted them as a strategy, right? And it doesn't seem to be working out.
Well, it's sort of the issue here is I mean, with the whole inflation stuff, I think Pearly thinks I think she's 6'1", and that's kind of her problem, honestly. I mean,
she's too big.
But I like tall women because
she's built
I
for
feel
the
like
fields.
Yes, whole inflation tapers off at 5'11" and up, really, and that's why I really like taller women,
like
because you don't
territory.
have to. But you don't have to deal with. You can sort of just ask that she doesn't wear high heels. That's the demand I have.
Son of a bookkeeper says plenty of MGTOWs will listen to her. Thirst is unstoppable, but the people that would be listening to her are not the people she wants to date. I mean, at the end of the day, she's gonna be a woman, right? And she's gonna monkey branch, right? She's not gonna date some incel. Let's face it, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's got the audience, but it's not the people that you want. It's the standard right-wing problem, right? You come up with grievances against the system, and you get grieving people in the audience. Sorry to say, mostly losers who are upset with the system for some reason, maybe for valid reasons.
Right. Instead of building the hierarchy that you're looking for, you're just complaining that things are shit. right? And I'm not saying that it's a long process, right? And we can't overturn this overnight, right? But it's just going to be this endless, well, grievance farming, as you said.
Yes, and like those types of people who complain, past behavior predicts future behavior, and complaining is just going to lead to more complaining. It's usually what you get. Like you can be like a right-wing influencer and get an audience of people who like to listen to complaining. They'll buy your books.
Hello, everyone.
Your products and everything. But I mean, we try to deviate a little bit from this. Maybe in a year we'll just do poetry readings or something like that.
That's going to be great. Yeah.
It's especially, I feel like the higher up the value chain of these influencers they go, the worse it is. Like, especially like with this Pearly character, it's just all complaining all the time. And the guys she is attracting, it's not the kind of men that she is probably interested in. I assume that she feels, on her end, sort of entitled to like a very high status guy as well, and she sort of feels like, oh well, if I'm second choice, then that's like that's a turnoff. So I guess she has a sort of inflated idea about herself as well. If you can't stand to be someone's second choice, then it's like, okay, well, it's just too bad,
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy the low self-esteem stuff either, because it's I mean, if you're like, it's just weird in my head to be this huge internet, this kind of niche influencer, and still have super low self-esteem when it comes to dating. It's
well, I mean, there's something to be said about, there's a difference between a traditional celebrity and someone who's online. There's this weird, because it's through the internet, there's this weird disconnection. It's parasocial, right? And I'm not saying that, a movie star, of course, that's parasocial, but it's so removed, right? That it's not the illusion of actually having a relationship with someone.
No,
so I think for online celebrities, that gap between their fans and them can actually be quite large.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of these celebrities just end up dating each other, right? They're not dating their fans because
because it's like that's someone who understands, right? It's
they're sort of living the same life, and they can
like,
be compatible
is Andrew
with each
Tate
other.
gonna date Pearly things? No, right? Come
well,
on,
I mean,
no, like I mean, you can argue about
not.
Tate like not being like a great guy, but he's gonna go for a 10, right?
Yeah, exactly. But what about some of these other like more niche influencers? What's that guy, Thinking Ape or something? Maybe he could try to go for just Pearly things. But she might not think that's good enough, But I made this tweet.
That's what I'm saying. Like if someone like Thinking Ape goes after her, the woman might kick in, right? She's going to say no because he's not good enough, or she's going to invent some weird reason how it doesn't work out, like Elaine from Seinfeld, right?
But I made a post, I think, on Twitter about this, where I sat and talked about this was a quote tweet from some other guy who commented on like the female kind of weight issue, where it's then again a response to an Economist article about how, like, it's economically favorable for a woman to be thin. And then you ask the question, okay, if it's in their interest, if they're incentivized to be thin, why aren't they thin? Like, why do they just keep getting bigger? So, and I mean, I just responded to this saying that, I mean, I feel like women are generally just not that into putting into effort for men. In general, the amount of effort that they're putting in, usually when I think about it, it's shockingly small, and like how much you could get out of just putting in a little bit of work as a woman to try to get a man who's maybe a little bit above your station. But I think that just it's something in their psychology, and especially for someone like Pearly thinks, I don't think she's ever maybe I'll put on the trad wife dress or something and try to change my personality a little bit to be a little bit more caring and feminine or something, and just try to be a little bit
service oriented. The problem is that she's doing it in the context of being an influencer, as selling that as a product. If she just did that and went to church, right, I think things would work out for her.
I think she could find some autist that's like 6'9" or something, who's good looking with like a chin.
Yeah, but I mean, this is turning into basically like a Stefan Molyneux podcast, where we're going to have to go through the list of like how many men actually are suitable that's out there, and it's going to be like 2 men in the world, right, compared to her standards.
Of course. Yeah, she's I mean, cliche, but part of the problem. So yeah, we'll just keep going down the rabbit hole. We'll not dwell on this too much. We have so much doom to scroll.
It's just interesting because I wrote femcells. I mean, that might be a bit of an over exaggeration, but we did. Let's see here. Right. Because Nietzsche's horse says, so in her adopting red pill ideology, she's basically painting herself into a corner where only low-tier men are interested in her. Right, because Nordanon, as he says, and if you recall back to our incels podcast, he says here, they did a poll of incels and more of them identified as left-wing than right-wing, interestingly enough. If you recall back to our incels podcast, I mean, the end of the line here is that no real society actually wants to create incels, right? They don't want incels. No one wants that. So having some weird government program to take care of the incels, it's totally the wrong way to go about it, right? That's not what you have to do. You have to, at best, you can create programs that prevent people from becoming incels, but you can't really do that explicitly, right? You have to start in the other end. You can't treat inceldom, or you can't manage.
No, regarding the comment of Nordanon, I mean, it might be slightly accurate when I think about some of these influencers like the Mr. Sandman. And if you have a lot of those guys take the political compass test, they're probably going to end up in the green quadrant on some level, actually, where it's like the only real grievance they have is like they want the waifus. But there's something that comes with that. I mean, they're sort of not really with the left-wing program, even though they have like permissive attitudes about taxation.
No, because they recognize, alongside other things that, the government is taking their money and using it for evil, right? Which places them closer to us on many specters.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, if they actually think about the issues that they're trying to address, you can only come up with right-wing solutions. I don't think there's any left-wing solution to like any real left-wing.
No, because the left-wing solution, weirdly enough, actually, I think there's I read a Bath piece about this because he wrote about this Argentinian guy, the one with the hairdo, Javier something. No, Jair something.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and that's basically his take on some of this stuff as well. Is that some of this strange based right-wing socialism, right, that some people are flirting with, and let's be fair, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself, but it's more that I'm seeking to understand the nature of power and what happened, and it seems that the Marxists are the people who understood what happened in the 19th century, and the right wing failed to understand that. But he points to Argentina as a country that's been doing this for decades. And the result is that everything is fucked, like without any outside influence. And it's funny that there's a correlation here because that's the sort of like, you can't treat your way out of the incel problem. You have to prevent people from becoming incels, as I said. You can't, treating a country here that is suffering from these illnesses isn't going to work. There's no policy that's going to get you out of this.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some incentives that can change or so on, but I'm just
change incentives to make sort of the it doesn't mean you can't turn it around, but it's going to be at a considerable cost, right? It's going to require sacrifice, billions, must blah blah blah, right? Figuratively or literally, right?
Yeah. I mean, we already have the incel stream for those who want the in-depth look at that issue.
Right. I don't know. Are we done with the
I think we're done with Pearly at least.
We're done with Pearly. Let's go back to the topic list.
Okay. Chirp. I think if that's like the funny black people in the smoke alarm stuff, then I'm down for that.
That is the yes, the ceiling birds, which is it's not really a topic. It's just a collection of tweets that I have. There's this one. Someone said, Home Depot, the white man's burden. We realize people are talking about smoke detectors, so they're placing smoke detectors front and center in their stores. With long, note the long lasting battery life. Let me bring up the next one here. God, I have a lot of shit saved in my bookmarks. I'm sorry. Let's see here. We have this one. You have a Photoshop underneath. And here, no chirp ceiling birds. I wasn't sure. I wasn't aware that was you, Cyberpunk. That's great. That's probably how I found it. This one.
It's nice meeting you. Before I leave, I just want to say, whenever you get a chance, I'm not saying now, but maybe get on a step stool and replace the battery in your smoke alarm. Don't do it for me. Do it for you.
It's already a new battery in there.
No, there's not. Wait a second. Wait a second. It'll chirp. See? You see it now?
What's going?
No. Is it supposed to like sound some type of way?
Well, all right. You have become immune to the chirp. Good night, okay? God bless.
Just pause it a little bit.
It's finished.
Okay, first, like, what's going on with the haircut? Does this guy have a skullet?
I have no idea what's going on
Is it
in
just
this video. I'm
with,
sorry,
with
this is out of context.
or something?
I don't know. He looks like hang on. What's that video game called? It's like hyper violent.
Hotline Miami, I think.
No. This is like an old talk about sewer culture. It's Kane and Lynch. Did you ever play that game on like the Xbox?
Oh yeah, yes, I did.
PlayStation 3.
Good point.
He has the same mullet as like, is it Lynch? I guess is his name, the redneck guy or the Floridan man or whatever.
The ultimate not giving a shit game.
That hairline.
I mean, it's well, it's I mean, Kane and Lynch was actually made by the same, I think, by Activision or something. It's the same people who made Hitman, right? Which is interesting because the Hitman games are like really good. Most of them, at least, that came out at that time, and it's not really. It's like a completely Danish creation. This whole Kane and Lynch thing. So that's all I've been thinking about when I figured that out. It's like I try to just see it. These are like two Danes who are like shooting up stuff in the United States. Yeah. Who had drunk their too much Tuborg or something. But I mean, interestingly enough, just as a sort of personal story, I manage a property. I manage multiple properties actually, but one of them has a black tenant, and he's not an American black, but sort of Ethiopian black, who sent me an SMS about when he was complaining about too much chirping on his smoke alarm, and that I had to come in and basically change the batteries. So I got a new smoke alarm with a new battery, and I took the one that he had. And like for now, for 3 months, I've been having his smoke alarms sitting next to me on my desk, and I'm waiting for a chirp, and I still haven't heard it. Like, and it's sort of a weird thing because I wasn't sure. Like, because I know that I changed the battery not too long ago, so I was just not. I didn't understand why he was complaining about chirping when the battery is so new. Then it struck me that maybe it's been maybe it just went off. Like, it's just been going off because he's cooking without using the fan or something in his apartment, and that's his problem. So it's nothing to do with the actual battery life. It's just he doesn't understand how to do the Western foodie stuff. So
Ruins guy says he smokes. That's
Yeah, he might actually. That's also another explanation. So does everybody in that apartment. So it's but
He's
yeah,
he's a
the
landed
mystery.
cad, yes.
The mystery continues.
All right, next up.
You're definitely a single woman because
Yes.
you got the single woman tell. That damn smoke detector.
Mm-hmm.
How do you live with that?
The way that I've been living with just being a single woman is
No. Specifically, the smoke detector that keeps chirping. How do you live with that?
Can you just elaborate more on like what do you mean by the smoke?
It keeps going beep.
Like red flags?
That smoke detector that's beeping in the background. There's a smoke detector. It beeps every 30 seconds and it goes beep.
I don't hear anything beeping. Did you just hear it again? Because I don't hear anything.
Is it like a frequency thing?
Well,
told you guys they don't hear it after a while.
This
Also,
should be studied, right?
It's very funny to me that you see the Chris card. I don't even want to scroll down.
But I mean, this should be studied in the lab or something. If these people actually can't hear the smoke alarm, I know you get used to certain sounds, like you have like a clock or something. You stop hearing it or you stop paying attention.
Yeah.
to it.
There is you get sort of immune to sounds, or you just shut them out, right?
But usually, if somebody makes you aware of them, like if they make some explicit comment about that, then you will start noticing again. It's like the "you're now breathing manually" joke that everybody was doing. It's like you're supposed to then actually become cognizant of the fact that you're breathing or swallowing or something. And there's a discomfort with that. But why doesn't it work with these people? Like even trying to make them aware of it is like It's kind of just so outside of their wheelhouse, Typically, let's say
very strange. Yeah.
I didn't know it was this prevalent, but I try to look for it now.
Oh, and this is just random stuff I've saved. There's even more, right? People are saying that this guy's dead. By the way, that's sad.
How old is this video?
Apparently, I don't know, but apparently old enough. You got it. Yeah, you have to hear it the first 100 times before it becomes sort of like silent, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's very strange. It's very strange.
But yeah, R.I.P. to the dude. This was a funny clip, at least. So
I don't think I have any more clips on this. I have, speaking of video games, I have found one post here, which is the SAG-AFTRA members have approved a strike against the video game industry with 98% voting yes. Companies included are Insomniac, Disney, Warner Brothers, Epic Games, Activision, and EA. This does not mean that it will go on strike. The next bargaining session is scheduled for this week. This isn't very interesting in that sense. My first thought was when they listed these companies, I thought to myself, well, that's not really going to affect me. I think I had to go through and think, did I play, when did I last play a game by any of these people? And you said Activision is the guys behind, or the publishers behind Hitman. That's probably not true anymore. It's like Square Enix or something.
I don't know who owns the intellectual property for that. I mean, it's long gone beyond the original creators, and I've completely lost interest. Of course, this is it doesn't affect me because I just play this either old video games or just this sort of indie trash. But
yeah, that's usually what I end up doing as well. Is like weird Paradox games, right?
What is interesting here is sort of the trend of these strikes, because we've had these sort of Hollywood writer strikes now, and I wonder if there's some kind of contagion
it's over now.
here.
But yeah,
the video game strike or the
writing stuff is I think part of it is over now. Yeah,
it might be, but maybe that's where they got the inspiration to do these video game strikes from. I mean, you're talking about successful right-wing boycotts, but I don't know I'm not really paying attention to BreadTube or something. If they're seeing this as like a W on their side, that they're able to do more strikes or something, at least in theory, I think that's something that they want.
I mean, the content was shit anyway, right? This I saw this. Actually, this is a good segue into this tweet. And these things are just writing themselves tonight. It's great. So
Perfect.
Martin Scorsese said that manufactured content isn't cinema. It's not kino, right? It's almost like AI making a film. That doesn't mean you don't have incredible directors and special effects people doing beautiful art, but what does it mean? What will these films give you? And so this random, like, you can just picture the guys behind this, right? It's a small account, super cinematics. And I just picture, Red Letter Media does this like nerd show, ironic nerd show stuff, right? Where they have the line like, just get excited, just consume product and get excited for next product. That comes from there, right? I just picture those guys. Guys in chat, help me out with the name of that Red Letter Media show. Anyway. And he says, comic book movies are not art. We need to save cinema. What will these films give you? Name another movie that gave you the feeling of watching this for the first time. And it's the end of the event. There's that moment in Avengers Infinity War when like everyone is like, yeah, and you have my axe and my sword and all that. And we're going to punch Thanos in the face.
Was this written by AI or have they used AI to...
No, this is from the actual movie.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering how this relates to the Scorsese thing. Is that he says that superhero movies are bad.
Scorsese is saying that these kinds of movies, right, as beautiful as the individual pieces of art are, right, like say the work of the special effects artist might be impressive, right, the movie itself doesn't contain cinema, right, is what he's saying. He's saying it's manufactured content. It's slop, right, in cinematic form.
Yeah,
it is devoid of substance. And well, to put it one way, the other day I showed my wife the movie Amadeus. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's
one of my favorite films, so yeah,
right.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in years and years. It's probably like 10, 15 years since I saw it, but I remembered a lot. I was surprised at how much of it I remembered because I thought it was great. Now, obviously, it's not necessarily historically accurate, but it's a drama. For those who haven't seen it, it's a drama written about Mozart and Salieri, the composers, from the perspective of Salieri, implying the drama coming from Salieri, suffering from he calls it mediocrity, but I'd say that he is one of the top composers of his time, and then I'm not sure if he uses the line specifically, but he's blessed with the ability to recognize greatness, but he's unable to replicate it. Every time he interacts with any works of Mozart,
I find that character, character extremely relatable, actually.
Right.
One of the most relatable characters, I think, in any movie for me.
Exactly. But, yeah. I do understand what you're saying. And in that way, that movie is deep and wonderful and explores these themes that we can now probably talk about for hours if we wanted, right? And I think that is what Scorsese is getting at. Right, when he says that, what we're looking at here is manufactured content. It's not cinema. It's not kino, right? As 4chan would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, both tweeters are right. The art film guy basically says that your slop isn't art, and this guy is like, well, slop makes me feel good.
Well, it made me feel good.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I can't argue that.
Which is, let's take a step back for a moment. I don't mind there being a hierarchy in art. What I do mind is Super Cinematics here trying to use that argument to elevate this movie to cinema, right? That's what I take issue with.
Yeah,
right?
No, from the mass man perspective, they probably do get more out of this slop. Art has always been, kind of an elitist, esoteric thing, typically, where you have the noble peoples who would actually just finance artists to enjoy themselves, like the kind of mass, just like mass war. I think mass art is a relatively recent phenomenon. At least, okay, don't crucify me, but at least mass art that has the kind of budgets and time put into it as this
as a product,
as the adventure movies,
as entertainment, as sort of the bread and circus. It's not necessarily anything new. I mean, theater and gladiatorial matches, etc., has been a thing for the common man for a long time. But of course, it has been adapted. If some of the themes are replicated, they get adapted to the common man, right? To speak to the common man. Real art, and calling back to my discussions with Dee and Alexander Adams, seems to require some form of input from you, in terms of you have to actually teach either yourself or get taught to appreciate it. Even though that sounds, of course, might sound a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Pretentious. But because I'm not saying like, oh, you have to watch, you have to read about or know a lot about cinema facts. No, you have to sort of train yourself in opening your sort of senses to the art and trying to interpret what the artist is saying. And that's hard, right? And in that lies, the fact that art isn't for everyone. Or all art isn't for everyone. There is a hierarchy.
Exactly. And it is for people with esoteric sensibilities and more subtler tastes. It's not this kind of like large. I mean, you can make these sort of space operas where the good guys fight the bad guys, and you got all the good guys.
Yeah, and that
big
works
teams or whatever.
For 90% of people, and that's great. Because that's how myth perpetuates, right?
Yeah.
But then you can, and the really great artists are able to do this simultaneously, right? I would say George Lucas didn't, but someone like Tolkien did, right? He wrote myth that also to this day is being studied, right?
Now that we're talking about it, I'm just becoming more curious about like why this dynamic exists in the first place, because typically like the snobs or the people with the subtler tastes are able to just enjoy the subtle films, and the pigs should be at the trough eating the pigs
lesson
here, but there's
or the truth, capital T truth, in the artistic work might still be valuable, right? It might still be eternal, but you need to change. You can still communicate that same message, but you can't use the same words, right? Because if you present it to someone who don't understand, they're just going to respond with this, right? You have to say, fighting evil and standing up for what's right, even though you're the one man left, is good, right? That's what the scene is saying here, right? And he's rewarded by getting help from his friends.
But I'm just thinking about this super cinematic.
It's communicated very ham-fistedly, right?
Yeah.
It's not exploring anything deep or dark or ancient about humans, other than doing what's right is good. Now, of course, that has been diluted due to our sort of the corporate nature of our world. It's sort of doing what right then becomes, well, Captain America always listens to the HR department. Which is kind of weird.
I see what you mean. It's just my question is really about this kind of what was his name again? Super Comics something. Like, why, as a person who's probably not even interested in art, why does he need to sort of defend his slop as art? Like, there has to be some part of him where he thinks that art is good.
He is educated, right? He has reached mediocrity. He is able to recognize greatness, but unable to produce it himself. Or even then, he might be able to recognize that something is even greater, but he's unable to understand it. Right? He's the ultimate midwit in that sense.
I just think art for him is just like, it's just a signifier for good, and it's like it's sort of an attack on his team or his tribe of people.
That's what I'm saying. That what I was getting at is it becomes an attack on his identity, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of why.
Saying that this movie isn't true art attacked him and all of his nerd friends, right?
And I remember like this episode with Roger Ebert said that video games aren't art, I think in the 2000s, And I remember like just being presented that and as a sort of like, now you're supposed to be angry with Roger Ebert because you're a gamer.
Provoking. Yeah.
And you're being attacked. Like this is your identity as a gamer. You're in the gamer tribe. And now he said, art is good. It's good to be art. And so now we have to disprove that by showing that GTA 5 is actually very deep or something.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just laughable in retrospect, but I mean, when you get attacked, you defend. It's just kind of what happens.
Oh, yeah. And that's fair, right? But I can still laugh at the people who defend when they're wrong.
Yes.
All right, let's go back to the topic list.
What about the COVID BPPV stuff?
Oh yeah,
I think
I messaged you about this today, right? Because it's something I have noticed in my circles, and I say my circles, that's very loosely. It's just you hear things when you talk to people, and I've noticed that a lot of people have been suffering from BPPV, which is in English, it's benign paroxysmal positional vertigo. For any Norwegians listening to this, it's called krystallsyke, which is called the crystal sickness, basically translated, and it's a form of vertigo. So you get dizzy, you get nauseated, and it's an issue with some inner ear thing that can last for quite a long time. Now, what I've noticed is that there seems to be, before COVID, I heard nothing of this stuff like that. It's a thing that old people sometimes get, right? After COVID, I've been getting like, that coworker or something, like that guy in the other department, he got BPPV. Or you hear about random people who are sort of like 40, which is not the usual age of getting this and having issue with this for a long time. And I just did like a quick Google search in Norwegian, just like, oh, does this have anything to do with COVID? I got like an article, which was of course behind a paywall. So I spent like 20 minutes researching this. I found one paper in English from what's this university? Egypt, Cairo, which seems to suggest that there's an increase in vertigo, but they have a very small sample size. But there seems to be some connection there. Let's see, abstract results. Conclusion: vertigo could be a possible complication or a presenting symptom in patients with COVID. Patients that is mainly attributed to peripheral vestibular dysfunction. So I was just sort of presenting this as like hey, this is something I've noticed. Anyone in chat have any experiences anecdotally about an increase in this since COVID? That's it. There's nothing more to it.
But what happened to your coworkers?
Nordanon says something in chat, which is sort of my instinct as well, considering everything else. But at this point, everything that's a conspiracy seems to be true. It feels so. But I don't have any proof. It's just I have a hunch. I'm presenting you all with the hunch. Do with it what you will. I found it interesting for about half an hour.
What happened to the coworkers? Are they taking leaves of absence because of stuff?
I haven't followed up on every single case, right? Let's say before COVID, I knew no one. I knew about no one, and then I mean like faint acquaintances included, right? Consider like every possible person that I know. I maybe knew of like one person who had that illness, and they were old, right? Now after COVID, I'm aware of like 5 people having had it. Most of them seem to have it for like a weekend or like a day or two. Some one or two people are still suffering with it, which means that it's sort of like chronic, which means that they can't drink too much alcohol or it's going to trigger them, or they have to like try not to, they can't go on roller coasters, stuff like that. Yeah.
It's definitely something I'll look out for. I mean, but it's I feel like because of the emphasis on COVID,
Moose,
there's so many.
I'm not saying that illness is because of that. I'm just saying because this isn't anything new, right? I'm just saying there's a sudden anecdotal increase in the cases for me. That's all.
I mean, I think I have a lot of people who have sort of seems to almost permanently have lost their taste bud function.
Really? Well,
after
I
COVID.
think that's just from the infection itself, from like COVID. What's it called? Like airway infection symptom is that you lose taste, or sinus infection thing. So that's all right. I mean, that's part of the actual influenza, right? Consumer apparently has found a study. He says, quote from a study, more than 60% of patients with post-medicine vertigo dissonance experience tinnitus, headache, nausea, vomiting, hearing loss, and fullness sensation. Well, so maybe I'm up to something, maybe it's nothing. That's I just thought it was interesting.
Keep your eyes open, people. We're going to revisit this
in a year from now. We're gonna bring down the house or something. Let's see here. Let's go back to the topic board.
Okay. Well, I don't know. What's Spain about?
This is another weird one. So a while ago, I went to Spain. And I went to mainland Spain. I know a lot of Norwegians go to the Canary Islands. I actually went to the eastern side of Spain, and I spent some time there. And let me see what triggered this. Let me just look at my. Here's the first one. I have. There's more to this, but here's the first thing that triggered me. This is the joke. White women, after they say gracias to a waiter at a Mexican restaurant, and then someone says, "You understand Spanish as a European language, right?" And my gut reaction is obviously to respond, "Well, Spaniards aren't white," which is obviously a bit of a joke. But I was sort of just wanted to muse about it for a second, because I'm not a history dude, but Spain does have a varied history of culture, like with the Moors and how much influence they had on the Spaniards. And let me just bring up one other thing here. Just a moment. Here we go. From an anime profile on Twitter. Years ago, I hosted a Spanish exchange student. He told me how beautiful American girls were compared to Spanish. I was skeptical, but I understood his point when I visited Castile later that year. Swarthy and hairy, very Moorish look to some of them. And compared to other places in the Mediterranean, I think Spain is very different. The landscape is very different. It's a lot more arid. The rocks, the mountains, beautiful mountain ranges, but the topography of it and the actual rocks are very different from something you'd find in, say, Greece. And it goes for the people as well. Spaniards are, I don't know, there's something different about them. That's all I have to say. Do you have any takes?
Jamie, bring up Spanish women.
Well, obviously, when you select for the high quality, obviously, Spanish women are beautiful and graceful. But we're talking about a people as a whole. I don't know. When I went to Spain the last time, I saw a side of Spain, the sort of more mass man side of Spain, that I hadn't seen before. I didn't see the high culture of Spain, and the parts that I saw, I didn't really enjoy it.
Well, can you confirm this guy? Is he right?
Who?
The Spengler acolyte. Are
What
the
about
women
him?
swarming? And
Well,
hairy?
yes. I mean, most of them, and those that aren't are extremely beautiful, right?
Are they also like they're staying out of the sun to look more white, or is that just the Italian?
That's generally a thing in more warmer countries, right? Well, yes, and then you have the Basque and the Catalans, which are different peoples, and then you get into a whole thing. So I don't really have the sort of intellectual weight or the history lessons to weigh in on this. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. There's something to this.
I
in
mean,
my mind, there's now a difference between, Spain and Italy, where there was none before. That's all really I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, to me, Spain it feels really foreign, even though it is a part of Europe, and it's not
That's
that
sort of what
far
I'm trying to
away,
get at.
but,
Yeah.
I mean, considering everything we discussed on the show, that's affecting the Anglosphere. It's the NATO countries or the EU or all of this sort of like the lockdown, the vaccine stuff, whether it's like the immigration stuff, all of this, and the culture war stuff, and like I'm thinking about like from a Spanish perspective, how many like Spanish people are touched by this in any kind of relevant way. There seems to be very little engagement. I'm not sure if I've even seen any engagement, honestly, from Spaniards in this sphere at
I
all.
don't know.
So that's why I'm wondering if like they have completely different issues that they're concerned about in terms of the Spanish landscape and
There's a bunch of South
Spanish
Americans,
politics.
but not Spaniards. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm kind of curious as to like what exactly is going on there, and what are their political concerns.
Oh yeah, and Pergan says, yeah, the Castellan and the Catalan, the Basques, to certain extent, I think the Galicians are a lot more, Northern European. Obviously, they still have darker hair, similar to other Mediterraneans, but in their features are a lot closer to Greeks and Frenchmen, in my experience, at least. Green River says there's not many Italians either. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just the sort of the Italian politics that kind of rear its head on occasion. They were talking about the sort of populist waves and
yeah, when
the
like
stuff that's been going on
Maloney
there.
says something, yeah, it's.
But I mean, if that
I
stuff
don't
catches
know.
on there, they must at least have some appetite for this culture war stuff, even though they might not be as active in the Twitter spheres and stuff.
There's something about forearm hair, but. Oh yeah, someone posted. Richard Crook says, "My hairy little Spanish monkey woman. She's so lovely. I like to comb her fur." All right, enough with the racial expletives. Let's see here. Let's go back to the topic list.
Okay, how many do we have left?
Food
now?
and memes and thoughts left.
I think, yeah, we could do the memes at the end. It seems like a bit of a miscellaneous category, so let's do thoughts.
Let's do thoughts. You might have seen this. It's been a new round of like gym thoughts, being surprised that they can't, work out in bikinis. This is the offending post that blew up. Just a woman living in a man's world, part 1. She, I guess, sort of covers herself up or something, This woman says, ask your man if he's okay with you dressing in a comfortable way at the gym, whatever it may be. If he says no, then he will be extremely controlling and restrictive. Just a tip. I can't imagine for a second that like riding your what's that even called, this piece?
I mean, there's something called Gymshark that is a brand that is making a lot of this kind of semi-pornographic gym.
Which, like,
stuff.
running that up your ass can't be comfortable at all.
I assume they sort of do combine like being skin tight with a degree of flexibility, right? But it doesn't look comfortable in the least bit. And there are probably comfortable options to the sort of extreme scantily stuff that they're wearing inside of these gyms. I mean, I've commented on this before. I think it's just completely ridiculous. I shouldn't feel like I'm walking on a set of a porno when I'm in the gym, but sometimes
it
you
just
do.
feels wrong, and that's not to say that you have to like wear a burqa to work out. But I mean, if you look at other countries, I remember someone quoted this with like what people work out in I'm not sure if it was Singapore or Japan or something, and it was just, you know, regular sort of gym wear, right? Like a t-shirt or a tank top or something like that, and baggy pants. That's what people work out in, right? Or shorts that aren't like, you know, riding up your crack. And
it's cheap, simple, affordable clothing. Pretty Lindy, pretty easy to get a hold of. But the stuff that they're wearing, it's like this kind of special order stuff that they've gotten online for a lot of money to
God. Sorry.
Yeah, to look in that particular it's like it's almost beyond pornographic. I can't even explain it, you know, like we talked about previously, the sort of censorship in the 90s where they had to find these sort of weird ways of showing sexuality that is almost just more sexual than what you saw later to avoid censorship. And I feel like Gymshark clothing is like you're basically naked without being naked. In a sense, you can see everything.
I mean, at this point, like, what's the difference between this and a bikini? It's not much, right? And it's not trying to sound like a prude. I'm just saying there's a time and place for everything. You're not at the beach.
I mean, even at the beach, you know, there are levels to this stuff, right? So, I mean, you had this whole Jonah Hill debacle where he talked about he didn't want his girlfriend to be wearing all the scantily stuff and posing with surfer dudes, and even that's a sort of valid complaint. I mean, this clothing is something that you have to kind of take a stand on at some point, right? What you think is decent
and especially when you're getting into sort of relationship stuff. I mean, it's a matter of respect, right? I mean, and I've had these conversations with my wife. It extends through sort of our agreement that you don't embarrass your spouse in public, right? That's just not something you do. And posting with other men being scantily clad is an embarrassment to your spouse. It's as simple as.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And this sort of gym thing is sort of the same thing, like trying to basically hunt for other men, right? And then it's the whole meme of like, yeah, but we do it for other women. That's bullshit, right? Never in the history has that been true. Like, feeling good about yourself, feeling sexy is the extent of being able to attract other men. And I can understand wanting to feel sexy. That's perfectly sort of natural, right? But when you're married to someone, you've signed, you know, a moral contract in that sense.
Yeah, and you know, to sounding like the ascended custodian here, you know, you're making a mockery out of the establishment, and that's what they're doing. That's what I feel like.
That's what they're doing. Yeah.
Generally, with I mean, it applies to men to some extent, but I feel like it's like with women, not just in the gym, but in the workplace and other venues. It's like some of the clothing that they wear and the makeup that they wear. I feel like they're making a complete mockery out of whatever they're doing.
Out of
even
the
like
gym, the sacred, you know, Arnold wouldn't have wanted this.
The temple,
going back
the
to,
Temple of Iron here.
The Temple of Iron, exactly.
I mean, I've seen this also with, say, female police officers who look more like strippers who have like a police theme than they look like actual police officers, right? And there is a kind of gravity to the stuff that they're doing.
Yeah,
I mean, even if you're just frequenting,
again, a mockery of the station of police, and we can meme about sort of cops being losers, but I mean, it used to hold some weight, that station in society, right?
We're pro formalism, right? If nothing else sticks,
right,
if I can't get the Austrian economics to
the
stick
Roger
or whatever, at
Scruton
least
argument.
I want formalism, and I want to eat meat or whatever. So we can't stand for this stuff. I mean, it seems to be the sort of default. I mean, we talk about like terminally online, but like terminally online women who see this stuff online, because I don't feel like it's sort of organic to just IRL space stuff. Like you just walk around and spend time in a social circle, and you'd want to dress like that. This is something they've seen, like they've been marketed, gone down the marketing pipeline, and gotten this stuff suggested to them, kind of spoon-fed to them. And the idea is that, I mean, if you have any objections to any person dressing in any way, you're sort of a prude, there's something wrong with you. I mean, I'm sorry, there isn't. You have to take a stand on clothing. That's you can't take a stand on clothing that's not just everybody's going to do whatever they want at any time, and you have to be fine with it. Otherwise, you're something bad, something wrong with you. But everybody, I mean, I think we all understand this, but it needs to be repeated.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think I have anything else on this. I feel like it's been talked to death, and I'm just
the jury's in agreement.
Myself.
Yeah, the thoughts are sentenced to zero attention.
Thoughts have been patrolled. Our job here is done. Move on. We have 2 left, and
so it's food and then memes.
All right, let's do food. This is just food. This is literally just tweets about food. All right. First one is this. This is new. This is fresh. I think this is just like an hour old or something. Which is sort of the craft beer snobbery culture. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for supporting local breweries when they make good beer, but there's a lot of there's an overlap here with I've talked about people who are very into hot sauces, not necessarily just spicy food, but specifically hot sauces, and I feel like there's an overlap between the craft beer enjoyer, the guy who's going to like import craft beer from the US, right, and then his imported American hot sauce, and everything's top shit.
Yeah, I do think if you made a Venn diagram, it would be heavily overlapped.
Exactly.
With, like the type of, at least the personality type has to be exactly the same. There's just something, I mean, you get that people have niche hobbies and they want to explore this. It's just kind of the market for this that it's just gotten so annoying so quickly. Just look at this stuff that's on the right side there. I mean, it's just,
I don't know. It feels, maybe it's because I'm deeply feeling that these things are by millennials for millennials, and I'm in that age group, and I really reject it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't want this cringe, but I know it belongs to my generation. I can't put this one on the Zoomers. I can't put it on the Boomers. It is like the hot sauces are the people who buy grooming products, for example. It's kind of like Manscaped. What do you call it? The mankin. What's the word for that napkin? The bro napkin or something? It's
the dude wipes.
Dude wipe. Yeah, that's the hyper masculine stuff for people who buy like pipes. Okay, I'm a pipe connoisseur or something. It's a pure millennial creation, and I hope it dies with us as well. Yeah.
Next up, we have this one. Again, this is just food stuff.
Cheese pizza, curl it into the perfect nest, and then stuff it with a pasta.
This is the ultimate Italian dish.
This pesto sauce was fantastic. Then they put a little cheese on top. This is a pizza baby. They take an entire cheese.
I mean, there's nothing to this. It's just one of those like overdone recipes.
I follow that account as well. It
Yeah, it's
always gives me
great.
a good laugh. It is some I would say that's a sort of Twitter styled format that they have for doing this thing, and I mean it just works. It makes me laugh. I know that it's sort of made for. It's not
No,
organic. I know that most things on Twitter aren't organic, but yeah.
I do enjoy this one because this is a bit of a window. I have another account I follow which is doing stuff like this, which is a bit more niche. But when I follow this one and the other one, I have this like window into old 4chan cooking board, which was great because there were things like this, you know, and people getting upset. But there were also like sometimes some dude who's like living in absolute squalor, just cooking the worst meal possible. And that's also something I get sometimes.
Yeah, I know both of these. It's it just works, right? It just makes me laugh.
Yeah. Next up is AOC. Oh no, sorry.
The baby. They take an entire cheese.
One moment. Having a normal one with a chicken nugget. And I would like the chats. It's not really important what she's saying. It's the way she eats the nugget, which sort of puts this poster and me off. This is not this is not the way to eat the nuggets.
She's just picking strings out of the white meat there and
the
just
chicken
eating
tender,
them a little bit at a time.
Yes.
I don't know if there's some kind of like weight control method or something. Is what I would suspect.
And maybe
she has to make them last as long as possible so she can stay skinny.
I just felt very assaulted by that video. That's the only reason why I saved it.
Yeah, there's something very unnatural about this. But I'm just assuming that. I mean, she is quite slender. There's some reason for that, right?
It might be a technique.
It's
that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about like overweight women and the, you know, how common that is, and she. I mean, for all of her faults, she has been able to keep herself quite slim. So I assume it's because she's eating like an absolute bird or something. I guess that's my only take on this. But yeah, I was off put by that as well. I hope I never have to see that IRL, honestly.
Here we have a dumpling with dumplings inside of it, which sounds like the most useless meal ever created. Purely, obviously, for the wow factor. For the Instagram moment, which I kind of hate because that started to become a thing here in Norway as well, where like restaurants will have these sort of like, well, I say restaurants, I mean these are middle class, maybe upper middle class establishments will have these sort of like Instagram worthy dishes, right? Which is like, wow, he cuts up the big dumpling and there's smaller dumplings inside, and it's just like, well, just order dumplings, you retard.
Are you supposed to eat the outside then, and then you chew into the smaller dumplings?
I mean, you don't eat the dumplings for the dough. You eat it for the combination of the dough and the insides, right? Just eating dumpling dough sounds frankly disgusting because it's all like chewy and like gooey and like, yeah.
It reminisces of some of this kind of like epic mealtime disgusting stuff where it's just matter for the sake of matter here, although maybe a little bit of a polished middle class version of it.
Right. Yeah, someone says there's no color or contrast. It's just you open it and it's just like, you know, this like alien slop.
It looks surgical, especially with the mask that he's wearing.
Exactly.
That's what I'm thinking. It's like a brain or something.
It's
very unappealing.
I would not serve this. I would not ask for this. Then it's back to some of the funny ones. There's stuff. Yeah, we need to put our cameras on and do like record this clip as like our reactions to that video. That's the stock on reaction videos are going up again, I hear. All right. This is the Chef Boyardee tacos, which looks disgusting.
It looks like this kind of canned pasta stuff.
That's
They
what
just
Chef
put
Boyardee
into.
is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing
why?
more to it.
Like,
That's the joke. Yeah. Here you have a medium rare pancake, which I found to be a funny joke. I had a post earlier this week about how I reject the medium rare burger. I mean, a lot of people seem to think that's the way a burger should be, which I think they inherit from like steak, that a steak should be medium rare, but the burger I don't think should be medium rare. I would rather have a steak tartare.
Burger is not a steak. I'm sorry to say. It's
Exactly. It's ground meat, right?
It's
it should
grounded
be cooked all
meat
the way through. Yeah.
It's not like different levels to this grounded meat. It's all just like the same slop.
It's one.
You just get repeated,
one mass.
and it doesn't make sense to cook some of it, and not cook something else.
Right. Nordano says it looks like a cheese wheel. That's true. It does look like a cheese wheel. And I think that's it for foods. Yeah, that's all the food, the food memes I had.
Oh, it's good. It's a good laugh.
And now let's go to the actual memes. Well, we have time for like 5 more. If anyone have any comments or questions, throw them in while I'm sharing memes. Let's do that. Let's see here. Shoe on head, old school Nazi. Says, I saw someone on here say that Wojaks are Barbies for men, and I can't unsee it. What is your take on that, Luddic Path?
I've heard the same thing on. Well, I follow some Facebook accounts that have been saying the same things. I don't know if it's completely apt. I mean, I came from watching the Barbie movie last month, and I've been trying to contemplate like the actual role of Barbies to women. I mean, maybe you could just substitute it for like dolls or something, because it seems like Barbies have some more particular role.
Yeah, maybe
for women, exactly, in terms of. Well, okay, if I think about it a little bit more, maybe I can give some good answers to
action figures. Oh God.
Why haven't
better? So no, that's not the point. Like I can eat the tartare, which is basically an uncooked burger. I mean, there's more to it than that, but in terms of like cooking a burger, a tartare is just an uncooked burger. But a burger, when it's served as a burger, should be cooked all the way through. Just as simple as. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. If you want to be based and save money on not cooking the meat, then yeah, be my guest. I just don't have the stomach for it, honestly. I haven't evolved properly.
No, and the tartare, I mean, is a bit of an acquired taste, to be fair, but you know.
I don't know why anybody hasn't done the Chad action figures yet. I mean, this would be something that Turley should jump on,
yeah.
right? Yeah, Steve Turley should sell them. You know, I think a lot of accounts could probably make some money. Maybe it's a tough market.
This is something I got from Chris Gard. Stole a meme that he was replying to. This is from Hinge. A girl who has a tendency to miss flights, and she works as a climate change advisor. So yeah, it's a bit of an irony.
So it's ironic because she
she's a climate change advisor.
Because flights are polluting, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and she misses them a lot, and it's implied that she flies a lot, right?
Yeah, and of course then she's not actually
a tendency to miss flight, right?
Gotcha. Sometimes it's too simple for me. I thought it was something.
I'm sorry. Should I layer it in 7 layers of irony? Is that if I deep fry it, will that help?
Her advice is to accelerate climate change. That's
fair
didn't
enough,
say anything about what the kind of advice she was giving.
Sorry. So this is, another another War Thunder user has leaked restricted government military documents on the forums. So we have to reset the counter. That's the meme there. Do I want to do the Reddit thing? Yeah, let's do the Reddit thing. Jesus Christ. This is from r/ask Reddit after dark. My boyfriend won't clean his sex doll. What the heck should I do? I moved in and I headed to his computer room. I can smell that it's musty and I found out that it's his sex doll. I don't care if he has one. I find it entertaining to watch. But the fucking smell. And also I asked him to clean it and he will not. So the man has been fucking it and just nutting in it and then leaving. I'm going crazy. Good times.
I mean, is this even real? I
with some of these, I wonder. It feels like everything is just a story to get clicks, right?
But I mean, yeah, at least some women are willing to put up with a lot of stuff.
Look at the amount of comments we're getting, Luddic. It's working.
Yeah, you can get a boyfriend if you're willing to put up with more stuff. I don't think it's pearly things, though.
It's not pearly things, unfortunately. Hannah Wallace says, "Hey, how are you? This already seems sketchy. I do not think I know you, but I'd like to be your friend on Facebook, if you don't mind. Mohammed, I'm tired, bro. It's late. Let's not do this." I just found it, it's a bit funny. It's sometimes the normie memes are. See if this one hits. Once my indie game that I worked on for 3 years comes out on Steam, everything will be alright. You can post. He's literally me in chat if you feel, because it's going to be fine once the battalion comes around. Here's one I found from. There's this account on Twitter which posts like Roman stuff and centurions, but they're like anime girls, or they're not like anime girls, but they're drawn in like this style. That's that account. I don't know why this was in my For Yous, but I found this quite nice. Why don't they make such traditional art anymore? The West has fallen. You seem to really enjoy the sculptures. The museums holds beginner art classes if you're interested. Sculpting 101. This is really fun. Millions must try. Bravo. So yeah, if you want to see more sculptures, you can build them yourself, I guess.
Is this supposed to just be like wholesome?
It's just supposed to be wholesome. I think it's just supposed to be like a nice, if you care, you should try, I guess, is the message. Now, of course, me being based in Red Pill knows that that's not going to save the West at all. So
more sculptures, guys. That's the new strat. That's the new meta right now. We need.
We just make more Davids.
Recreate these avatars that people have in IRL. Then that'll inspire future generations to revitalize the civilization.
Oh, here it is. I found it. So this is from Wholesome Fungus Chungus. This is from the most subversive person on my timeline, Jane Burden, who keeps retweeting the absolute worst tweets I've ever seen and refuses to stop. And at this point, I think he's fully entered character because I think he has deleted most of his tweets. And now he has engaged a lot of the Canadians about the recent happenings in Canada. And he posted this tweet, which has said, "Democracy is in danger for the first time in my life." And this really, he's been fishing to get a lot of these left-wing Canadians to bite, and he really he's really been catching a lot of fish.
Is it working? Can we see some of them?
Let's see if I can find. The problem is that he retweets a lot of this bullshit, so I'm not sure if he retweeted this as well. I mean, that's probably where I got this from. He has unironically just retweeted this guy. Agreed, someone says. If democracy existed, I'm pretty sure, blah, blah. When are we making... No, it's not working really, but I've seen... Was it in the... Can I see quotes? Is quotes hidden now?
You have to go to the 3-point menu, right, and view post engagement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this sucks.
Repost quotes. He's got this person. I felt like I saw more people engage with this. Maybe I'm wrong. But here is repost. Still waiting for a statement from the OCDSB to denounce the September 20 anti-trans demonstration in Ottawa. Something, COVID. Of course, Bob Chipman, always a staple. Films devoid of human emotion, according to Martin Scorsese. What is this here? What's this? What movie is this?
I think it's the Blue Beetle or something. I saw a trailer in the cinema recently.
It's
more Cape shit, but they have to dig into further into the galleries to find heroes you haven't heard of.
What is this? The Faded Hierarchy. I'm not sure what this is. This is some guy. He says, "F Trump. If you like Trump, fuck you." Actually, Biden said the country is in the fight of its life against a Christo-fascist movement that is authoritarian and un-American. Your movement, I agree. What is this in regards to? Senator John Kennedy hits the nail on the head. I think that President Biden is the only person in the Milky Way who thinks our country is headed in the right direction. Oh, and then this, absolute... Oh, he's hitting everything. Wow. He's got jerk chicken.
Is this a parody
got
account?
The Black Lives Matter. He's got the blue wave and the Ukraine flags. Followed by Schaefer. I'm this close. Burden, if you're listening to this, put me on the show. I'm gonna physically have to fight you. Because I'm gonna have to, if you keep going on about this stuff, I'm gonna have to block you. My timeline is absolutely destroyed because of you. Well, good stuff. I think that's all. I think that's all for today.
Yeah, it's been fun.
This was a lot of fun.
If there's no questions, then we could just round off, I think.
Yeah, we're all liberals now. We're all Gunter Fellinger, right? Destroy Switzerland. They're mostly fake. Yeah, I think so too. What would be interesting is if, Burden has managed to sort of conglomerate this weird fake lefty sort of bot farm into following him and just producing content, basically.
I mean, like we talked about in Telegram, I feel like so much of Twitter now is just these fake accounts that just exist to bait a certain audience into
probably
thinking. I mean, we've gotten very far into the simulation already. There's nothing real left. It's just reactions to reactions, and it's these fake bait accounts. nobody real anymore. Everybody left. So
call back to the thing we talked about in art and levels. And Amadeus, I have this tweet, which is the video games I enjoy versus your video games, and if you've seen the movie, you should understand the reference. But I mean, obviously, if it's been a long time, you might not get it. So you can check out that post on my Twitter.
I've seen the movie, but I think that these two things happen consecutively. So
they do.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, this is this is Don Giovanni, the opera from Mozart, as it's being performed, wherein in the movie,
right, yeah,
Salieri sees, as a friend, quote unquote, of Mozart, he sees Mozart conjuring his father up in this ghost of this general here, and sort of laying bare his soul and sort of having because this is after his father dies, so he's sort of using this art to have sort of try to deal with his father's death. And, it's part of why, part of the whole thing with Salieri finding his work so beautiful. And then in the next scene, there's this dumbed down version of Giovanni that's being played as a vaudeville show for the commoners, right? So
yeah, of course. So he has to sell that stuff to make enough money to pay rent at that point, right? Because
something
he's down,
like that.
yeah.
Yes. Or his friends in the vaudeville show has sort of adapted his opera to the commoners, and some of the things are, remain, but it's been horribly sort of mangled, and the finer themes are now gone. Sort of the struggle of the artist no longer
made a
exists.
Mockery. You've made a mockery of this establishment. Yeah, they
exactly
literally did. Yeah.
The Longhouse explains their own memes. Yeah, one day that's going to be. I wasn't expecting the post to be a banger. I just felt like tweeting it out. All right, that's enough for now. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for listening. Next week, I'll try. I have some guests in the works. If not, I'll look into. We might do a review of Prophets of Doom on this Saturday. I think 8 o'clock British Standard Time. I will be appearing on Hitman's channel. I'll try to link that in the community notes and on Twitter. And we will be talking about, let me double check so I don't say anything wrong. We're going to be talking about, well, I guess the middle class, sort of what the nature of the middle class or sort of thoughts on the middle class. It's, we talked about like dissident right people discovering Marxists. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those streams where a lot of Burnham and probably Marx and George Sorel and stuff like that is going to be brought up to try to, explore for a bit what the middle class is and should we have a middle class, I guess.
That's a good question, actually. But yeah, tune in. You might learn something.
Tune in for that. All right. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.